What is the significance of history in the education of the young? What is the significance of history in the education of the young? I think if one has read history books, it's fairly clear that man has struggled against nature, conquered it, destroying it, polluting everything that he touches. There have been wars, kings, Renaissance, industrialization, and man struggled to be free, and yet he becomes a slave to institutions, organizations, and he tries to break away from them, but again forms another series of institutions, another series of organizations. So this everlasting struggle to be free, that probably is the history of mankind, according to books, and also the tribal wars, the feudal wars, the baronial wars, the wars of the kings, nations. It is still going on. This tribal mind, which has become national, sophisticated mind, but it is still the tribal mind. And that's what more or less, perhaps we're rather simplifying the history with the culture, music, painting, the whole thing. How is all that to be taught to the young? Surely, history is the story of mankind. Mankind, the human being who has gone through all kinds of suffering, through various diseases, through wars, through religious beliefs and dogmas, persecution, inquisition, torture, in the name of God, in the name of peace, in the name of ideals. And how is all that to be taught to the young? That's the question. If it is the story of mankind, story of human beings, then both the educator and the young are the human beings. It is their story, not the story of kings and war. It is their story. That is the story of themselves, right? Now can the educator help the student to understand the story of himself? I don't know if you're following on this. The story, the past, of which he is the result. Right? So can the educator help the student to understand himself? Because he is the story. That's the problem. Would you agree to that? That is, if you are the student, you are the educator and I am the student, how would you help me as a young student understand the whole nature and structure of myself, myself being the whole of humanity. My brain is the result of many million years. How would you help me to understand myself, the story, the past, which is all in me? The violence, the competition, the aggressiveness, the brutality, the violence, the cruelty, the fear, the pleasure, occasional joy, and that slight perfume of love. How will you help me to understand all this? Which means the educator must also understand this. He's also understanding himself, right? And so helping me, the student, to understand myself. So it is a communication between the teacher and myself, and in that process of communication, he is understanding himself and he is helping me to understand myself. I wonder if it's not that the teacher or the educator must first understand himself and then teach. That would take the rest of his life, perhaps. But in the relationship between the educator and the person to be educated, there is a relationship of mutual investigation. Can this be done with the young child, with the young student? And how, in what manner would you set about it? That's the question, right? Are you interested in this? How would you as a parent go into this? How would you help your child, a boy or a girl, to understand the whole nature and structure of his mind, of his desires, of his fears? You follow? The whole momentum of life. Don't look at me. How would you deal with it? Don't say immediately we must have love and all that kind of stuff. But it's a great problem. And are we prepared as parents and teachers to bring about a new generation of people? That's what's implied. A totally different generation of people, totally different mind and heart. Are we prepared for that? If you are a parent, would you give up for the sake of your daughter and son, drink cigarettes, pot, the whole drug culture, and see that both the parent and the child are good human beings? The word good means well-fitting. psychologically, without any friction, well fitting, like a good door. You understand? Like a good motor. But also good means whole, not broken up, not fragmented. So are we, the elder people, prepared to bring about through education a good human being, a human being who is not afraid of his neighbor, afraid of the future, afraid of so many things, disease, poverty, fear. But also are we prepared in the search of the good or in establishing the good, prepared or help the child and ourselves to be integral, integrity. The word integrity means to be whole. And integrity also means to say what you mean and hold it. Not say one thing and do something else. Integrity implies honesty. And are we prepared for that? Can we be honest if we have got any illusions, any romantic, speculative ideas or ideals? We have strong beliefs. Can we be honest? You may be honest to the belief, but that is not, that doesn't imply integrity. Are we prepared for all this? Or we bring children into the world, spoil them till they are 2 or 3, and then throw them to the wolves. Right? Prepare them for war. You know what is happening in the world. That's why history has not taught human beings. How many mothers must have cried, their sons being killed in wars. You understand? And yet we are incapable of stopping this monstrous movement of killing each other. So if you are to teach the young, one must have in oneself this sense of the demand of the good. Good is not an ideal. You understand? If we translate the good, which is to be whole, to have integrity, to have no fear, not to be confused. That is, these are not ideals, they are facts. You understand? So can we be factual and so bring about a good human being through education? And if we say yes, then what will the parent and you do about it? You understand? What is your responsibility? Because probably you have children. If you have, then what? You understand the problem? So one asks, do we really want a different culture, a different human being with a mind that is not confused, that has no fear, that has this quality of integrity? I hope I've answered that question.